The camera rolls. Bright lights flood the set. The tension is subtle but thick in the air. At the center of it all sits the man known for his razor-sharp intellect and even sharper tongue, David Starkey. The renowned historian, known for dissecting British political history with the precision of a surgeon and the ruthlessness of a courtroom barrister, is about to drop a revelation that will send shockwaves across the political landscape. And opposite him, a host, calm and composed, completely unaware that what's about to unfold might be one of the most controversial moments of live British television this year. David Starkey isn't a man known for subtlety. When he speaks, he doesn't pander. He doesn't sugarcoat. He lays out facts, blunt, brutal, and unapologetic. And today, with millions watching, he leans into the microphone, pauses, and delivers a bombshell about none other than the leader of the Labour Party, Sir Keir Starmer. "I'm going to say something," Starkey begins, "that most of the media has either ignored, forgotten, or deliberately covered up. But it needs to be said. It must be said. Because we cannot allow Britain to be governed by people who hide behind polished words while burying their past in silence." The host blinks, stunned. "Are you saying Keir Starmer has?" "Yes," Starkey interrupts. "He has a past, one that contradicts everything he claims to stand for today. A past that the public deserves to know." And just like that, the floodgates open. For years, Starmer has presented himself as a champion of progressive values, a defender of the rule of law, and a voice of reason in a divided political era. But according to Starkey, the man behind the mask is far more complicated, and far less principled, than many realize. "Let's start with his time as Director of Public Prosecutions," Starkey says, voice calm but cutting. "He led the Crown Prosecution Service, a role of immense power. But do you know what cases he quietly let slide? Do you know which high-profile individuals avoided the full weight of justice under his watch?" The host shifts uncomfortably. "You're suggesting misconduct?" "I'm suggesting selective justice," Starkey replies. "And I'm pointing out that Starmer had the power to pursue predators in the establishment, people tied to the highest echelons of society, and instead, he focused his attention elsewhere. He was more than happy to pursue journalists, whistleblowers, and protesters, while others with more serious crimes seemed to vanish into the shadows." The audience watching at home is likely holding its breath. This isn't conspiracy theory territory. This is David Starkey, a man not known for peddling fringe nonsense, methodically exposing a record that's largely been kept quiet. And it doesn't stop there. Starkey then delves into Starmer's early political affiliations, something very few mainstream outlets dare to touch. "He wasn't always the centrist he plays today," he states. "Let's not forget he was once a radical, a supporter of causes that, quite frankly, were deeply anti-establishment. And yet, look at him now, pro-European Union, a man who sided with the very institutions he once distrusted. Are you calling him a hypocrite?" the host asks. "I'm calling him a political chameleon," Starkey fires back. "And in a country where trust in leadership is already at rock bottom, the last thing we need is another polished liar pretending to be the nation's savior." By now, social media is exploding. Clips from the interview are being shared across Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Hashtags like #Starkey v Starmer and #Starmer exposed are trending. People are divided. Some are calling Starkey a brave truth-teller, others accuse him of character assassination. But no one can deny the impact of what's just been said. Starkey doesn't let up. "I've studied history all my life. I've studied tyrants, opportunists, and idealists. And I'm telling you, Keir Starmer fits a particular mold. He's the kind of man who says what's needed to win favor, not because he believes it, but because he calculates it's the path to power." The host tries to intervene, but Starkey barrels forward. "Look at his stance on Brexit. He campaigned to remain, then said he respected the vote, then tried to reverse it, and now pretends he never opposed the outcome. It's not about policy, it's about optics. He wants to be everything to everyone, and that means he stands for absolutely nothing." And then comes the most explosive part. Starkey leans in, and with an eerie calm, he delivers the line that sends the whole studio silent. "There are documents, court records, archived letters, that show Keir Starmer knowingly protected certain individuals during his time in legal office because of political pressure. Because he feared rocking the boat. He was complicit in silence. And silence, when justice is demanded, is cowardice. The host freezes. Are you saying he covered up crimes? I'm saying he had the power to expose them and chose not to. The show cuts to a commercial break. But the damage is done. Within minutes, online forums light up with speculation. People are digging into Starmer's past, combing through old CPS decisions, analyzing leaked memos, and drawing connections. Journalists who once steered clear of criticism now face pressure to investigate. Calls begin to mount for an official inquiry into Starmer's record. Parliament is silent, but not for long. And while some MPs rush to defend the Labour leader, others, notably those on the backbenches and in rival parties, begin to quietly ask questions. Is this really the man we want to lead Britain into its next chapter? One anonymous source tells a reporter. Because if Starkey's claims hold even a grain of truth, it means we've been sold a false narrative. Meanwhile, Starmer himself is forced to respond. A hastily called press conference is scheduled the next morning. Flanked by aides, Starmer steps up to the microphone, looking unusually rattled. He begins by dismissing Starkey's comments as baseless, politically motivated attacks. But the denial feels rehearsed, and for the first time, the usually composed politician stumbles over his words. Reporters aren't buying it. What about the case involving? Did you receive pressure from Downing Street in 2011? Why did your office fail to pursue charges in the high-profile inquiry involving? The questions come fast. The answers are vague. Behind the scenes, Labour HQ goes into crisis mode. Leaks emerge. Former colleagues begin speaking to the press. One former prosecutor tells a paper, "There were times we were told to back off certain investigations. It came from the top." Suddenly, Starkey's words don't sound so outrageous. Public opinion starts to shift. Polls show a significant drop in confidence towards Starmer. Political opponents seize the opportunity. The Prime Minister issues a subtle jab in Parliament, saying, "We cannot claim the moral high ground if we ignore the sins of the past." Even within Labour, murmurs of discontent rise. A leadership challenge? Not yet. But the foundation has been shaken. Back on the programme, Starkey returns a week later. He's calm, collected, but not smug. He says, "I didn't come here to destroy a man. I came here to speak the truth. And in our modern age of spin, truth is revolutionary." He warns the viewers, when you vote for a leader, don't vote for their performance on stage. Look at their history, look at who they were when no one was watching. That is where character lives. And with that, the conversation shifts. Not just in the studio, not just on social media, but across the entire political spectrum. The debate is no longer about left or right. It's about integrity, accountability, and whether Britain can still recognize the truth when it's spoken bluntly and without fear. In the days that follow, Starmer's team releases multiple statements, tries to change the narrative, pushes forward policy plans, and even attempts to redirect attention by attacking the government's record. But something has changed. The gloss has worn off. The questions remain unanswered. And David Starkey? He retreats from the spotlight, but his words linger. He didn't just expose a secret. He exposed a weakness. A crack in the carefully managed image of Britain's potential next Prime Minister. And in doing so, he reminded the country that no matter how far we think we've come, the battle between power and truth is never over. The live TV moment becomes legend. The clip is replayed endlessly. It becomes a meme, a news story, a cultural flashpoint. People argue over it in pubs, on buses, in classrooms. And whether you believe Starkey or not, whether you support Starmer or despise him, one thing is clear. The truth, when delivered unfiltered and unafraid, still has the power to shake the pillars of power. And sometimes, all it takes is one man, one voice, and one live broadcast to change the course of political history.